Now, if you ask yourself, how do I build a system? In many of you, you already have a system. It's in your head. It's always existed. The key is taking what is in here and actually documenting it and training other people. Because Antonio Roberto Gattari is my name. One of the things that my mother is brilliant at is cooking. It took her 27 years where she was taught how to cook. And she lived in a small fishing village called Porto Santo Pidio, and she learned from her mother how to cook the most amazing lasagna. It was adorable. And friends used to come around my place, not because they were my friends, but because they could eat my mum's lasagna. It was creamy, it was homemade, it was absolutely amazing. When I got married, my wife, who is not Italian, tried to make this lasagna. Okay, I know I'm being recorded, but it wasn't very good, okay? And she would admit that. Because she's not Italian, and she didn't have 27 years of experience. But my wife, if you've met her, is an amazingly persistent and resourceful person. And my challenge was that my mum couldn't speak English. My wife couldn't understand. My wife could speak English. My mum couldn't speak English. And my wife could not speak Italian. And my mum couldn't write English. And my wife couldn't read Italian. So one day my wife, Ingrid, decides to ring up my mum and said, "When are you making the lasagna?" And she would make it always the night before on a Saturday. And, it would be around 1 o'clock with the machines and the whole lot. She went there. And what she did is she followed my mum around for the next 4 hours and wrote everything she did. And I now have the pleasure to say that my wife could now make better lasagna than my mother. My mum took 27 years. My wife took 4 hours. Your system is your recipe. You have the recipe. There are certain other, you have to know what systems to write down. There are certain systems that you can easily get on the web, like HR systems, like job descriptions and they're human resource systems. But these are the things that I would seriously give you a checklist. Do our systems support our vision? They have to be in line. Do the systems help define the brand? Because the branding is based on being authentic. You are now marketing to cats, not dogs. Cats don't believe the marketing hype. They want authenticity. They demand authenticity. They are very skeptical of people saying, "I've got a glossy brochure," because a glossy brochure means nothing if you're not living to their expectations of what you're marketing at. Because you can't afford to lose customers, because the greatest cost of running a business is getting a new client. So the systems must fall in line with the marketing, or else there's going to be a major problem. Can each of these systems be tied down to job descriptions and KPIs? Can all my employees be trained in these systems? Now, here's how not to train people. Don't give people a manual that they'll never read, because they won't read it. You're not going to read a 400-page manual. Okay? The key to training is entertainment. You've got to entertain younger people in particular, because they have a span of attention of about 5 minutes. So I've got to introduce activities, visual demonstrations, record your training, and so people see it. Will these systems be relevant in 5 years' time? So you're building systems for the future, not where you are at the moment. And what I like is if a 16-year-old can't understand them, then I've got to actually make it simpler. Because see, as a business owner, you will probably never really get great staff. Because if they're that great, they're going to sooner or later leave you and compete against you. And the problem with great staff is that you become very vulnerable to the whims and ways of handling their emotional blackmail sometimes of saying, you need me more than I need you. And they start, and it's hard to correct people in that environment. And when you've got a 4% unemployment rate, when you correct people, half of the time they just leave. They go, no, well, I'm just going to leave. And it is estimated that Generation Ys will have, in the next 20 years, in excess of 15 jobs. And they will change their careers around 3 or 4 times. Now, I'm a baby boomer, and I'm looking at everything from my perspective. I'm saying if you're not in an organisation for 5 to 10 years, you're a flake. I've got to change that thinking. They're not going to even last 5 to 10 years. So I'm probably going to get 2 years out of them. Here's the key. You've got to make great systems because the system stays with the business when the person leaves. Because the system is the business. You're not reliant on people, you're reliant on the system. So if people say, I'm going to leave, that's okay. You just got to train people in the new system. But systems, great systems do this. They make average people look great. That's the key. Because we have a cycle of business. The business owner is at the top. The business owner builds the system because the business owner is the system champion. They protect the system. If you ever wanted to lose your franchise in McDonald's, if you change with that system, you would be moved out so rapidly you wouldn't even know what day it was. That's the thing that Ray Kroc said you can't touch. We will improve it, but you can't. You follow the system until we find a better system. The system then manages the team. The team manages the customer, and the cycle of business is the customer looks after the business owner. What happens is because we don't have a system, we manage the team, and we can only grow the business up to that capacity where we can manage those teams. That is the importance of a system.